Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in less than 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. First question, tell us in a few sentences your name and what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean. My name's Mike Soldan. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Schmoop. Schmoop is a education edtech resource focused on 7th through 12th graders, U.S. public school system. Chief Experience Officer, I have our product teams, our software engineering teams, as well as our content teams.
Fantastic. Second question, what's the best thing about working with a team?
Yeah, there's 2 lenses on this, Sean. There's the natural one, which is a results-based scale conversation, right? You have to have people to grow. You have to have people to generate the outcomes that the company needs. And so growing a team is always a really fun thing. But personally for me, it's more about growing individuals. Through my career, I've been able to help a ton of folks grow financially, grow in their career, grow in experience. And to stick with those mentorships are really rewarding to me. I've got folks that I haven't worked with in years that I still have lunches with when this COVID-19 thing isn't happening. But I love the personal relationships.
Oh, I love those responses. Great insights. Question number 3, I sometimes hear from other team leaders that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it to me depends on what you mean by engage in this context. There's 2 lenses, again, I would put on this. One is purely from an outcomes perspective, and that to me is more of a performance conversation. I'll talk a little bit on your next question about how I would give advice to manage a team in terms of using frameworks like OKRs, objectives and key results, to keep team members engaged there. But I think the question is probably more targeted at a cultural level. And that really depends on, do you have remote teams? Do you have local teams? Is it a mixed bag? For me, what I really care about is that team culture. You'll see every team I'm on, we use tools like Slack that are highly collaborative, high communication. And being the executive in the team, you usually wouldn't see a role like mine engaging, but I spend probably about half my day inside Slack engaging, responding to questions, posting memes, having a good time, making people feel comfortable and leading from that lens.
That's great advice. Thank you. Question number 4, what other piece of advice would you give to leaders of teams?
Yeah, given that the whole conversation here is really about engagement, it's that twofold piece, like I mentioned, right? You have the outcomes, you have the culture. There's so many things you could do from a culture perspective. Like I said, highly collaborative, a high level of communication. It's corny, but the open door thing has always been a reality for me. But in terms of getting true outcomes, moving your team forward, moving your company forward, I'm a really firm believer in the OKR framework, objectives and key results, because they allow for autonomy. So inside of my team, if you've ever worked for me, you'll have a crystal clear set of goals and outcomes that you have to accomplish on a quarterly basis. If you have reports that move under you, those will continue to trickle down and they'll get wider as the OKRs are set. But I will be crystal clear about what the expectations are. It'll be a set of probably 5 to 10 OKRs that you need to accomplish for the quarter. And then you're left to do those unless you need help. So the level of autonomy inside of my teams, I think, is what creates really strong engagement. It puts the career, it puts the results, everything in the employee's hands, and it's up to them to perform or not. We set them as a team. We do it together, so there's no tops down kind of nonsense around it. And it makes performance conversations and outcomes very, very clear, very easy to do, and everybody's on the same page.
I really like that about how autonomy can drive engagement. I think that's a great comment. Thank you. Question number 5, what other team leaders, or successful team leaders such as yourself, would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
Yeah, this was a hard one when I saw this question because there's so many great executives. There's a specific team, Utah, where I'm based out of, is a really cool area. We've got what we call the Silicon Slopes. It's kind of a knock on Silicon Valley. Because we have hundreds of just fascinating startups, some of the best software engineering talent in the country, affordable, really highly collaborative, effective people. So I'm just surrounded by companies of friends, mentors, et cetera. The one I would call out, there was a company called Every, Evree. They put together a leadership team of some of my closest friends, some of the greatest SaaS leaders I've ever seen. So 3 folks there that I'm really fond of. Brett Barlow just took the CEO spot there. Kyle Jacobson's a founder, a good friend of mine, chief product officer, and another friend, Greg Woodward, just joined their board. So it's a powerhouse team. I'd recommend anybody go try to meet them, find them on LinkedIn.
Great recommendations. Thank you very much, Mike. And last question, tell us about your first job.
Yeah, this is a fun one. You'll get some insights into my kind of workaholic nature. I've been obsessed with work since I was able to. Before formal jobs, it was starting my own business, mowing lawns as like a 12-year-old, right? And you 15 lawns going in a week. But my first job was actually as a janitor at the middle school I worked at. So it was a lot of hustle, 14 years old. I don't think you can work when you're 14 anymore. Things have changed quite a bit, but
that's right.
It was awesome. Yeah, you learn a lot. You know what I mean? You get some of the humility of all your friends going home, and then you're going to be sitting there emptying trash and vacuuming the carpet. But it was a great lesson, man. I worked all summer for a couple years, made some good money, and started to get addicted to cars, bikes, things like that. You can see that Porsche in the background here, but it was a great way to kind of kick off my career and just work addict since then.
I love that. This has become my favorite question because I love to hear a lot of how people kind of got started on the entrepreneurial path and some life lessons. So thank you for sharing that, Mike. Mike, thanks so much for being on the podcast. How can people find you?
Yeah, a big LinkedIn guy. Find me on LinkedIn. If you send me messages, I'll try to filter through some of the spam. Get a lot of BDRs, SDRs reaching out, but that's how we met, obviously, Sean. So find me on LinkedIn. Again, the name's Mike Soldan. Try to respond, connect to people. I'm super open to help for genuine need if it's not just a sales request. So find me there and happy to help. I post a lot. I do a lot of blogging. You'll find information on my Medium profile there too, where I do a lot of blogging as well.
Great. Thank you. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, you can find us on LinkedIn by searching Blue Sky Business Consulting. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great day.